Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show where I talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm gonna talk about the latest episode of The Rook, a great episode. Holy crap, some very interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. I really like this episode being a prologue, which is interesting because we get the prologue this late in the season, but I also like it because obviously, like, the episode titles are chapters, so it's just kind of interesting. You go from like chapter 6 to the prologue, but nevertheless, it's so interesting. I like this episode. It does a really good job of it. It'd be easy just because obviously you get little details here and there, stuff like, okay, we picked up over the course of the season, but it's really nice to kind of get the full scope to understand everything. Like I said, I'm talking in generalness. Ignore me, my inability to speak, but well, let's just run through a lot of stuff. Holy crap. Okay, so Miffany had introduced someone that was potentially an EVA. Her name was Josie. Josie doesn't really communicate with people, but her thing is numbers. And basically, she was able to kind of predict a lot of stuff. And even to the point that, Miffany kind of would say, like, basically, if you look at the way her brain operates, whereas, like, someone's brain is kind of always, like, there's a certain part of the brain that's always on for most people, but hers is, like, it's on one moment. So it's like one heartbeat, she's here in the present, and then the next, she's somewhere else. And basically, like, you look at all these things she kind of predicted number-wise and stuff like that. Obviously, Conrad and Linda were reluctant to believe anything. But I think this was Miffany being like, yo, like, look what I've discovered. It's like, but no one kind of took it seriously, so it's just kind of like, she's a little bummed about that, But then, really quickly, Josie tells her, like, oh yeah, what happens to Miffany? And she's like, wait, what? Say that again, but she doesn't because she can't, because Josie was in the moment, and once she's out of that moment, it's gone. It's like an in and out type of thing. She says and does what she needs to say, like prediction wise, and then she bounces back. It's kind of interesting. I forgot what the exact wording they used, but it's like she can't do it like a general, like, oh, I can predict the future. It's usually like related to commodities was the word that they use. And I thought that was so interesting, because, Linda was like, wait, commodities, isn't that only what her power is good for? And then you have Miffany being like, well, when you look at an EVA, the way EVAs are kind of treated, the way they're traded, they are treated like commodities. So, of course, like that, I would kind of technically fall under the purview of her powers, And I thought that was so interesting because it was like, right, because I didn't even think about that. The entire season, Miffany knew ahead of time. That's why she had everything set up. So it's like, but it never crossed my mind the entire season. Right. How did Miffany know? And it's like, that was such a big bombshell to drop. I was like, right. How did you find out that you were going to be attacked and knew this whole thing was going to happen, that your memory was going to get wiped? I didn't even think to even ask that, the entire season. I was like, holy crap. Thank you for kind of bringing that back like that. That's incredible. And a crazy way to kind of find out like that. But like I said, Linda didn't believe her. Even to the point, like, Linda brings this up to the Gestalt. It's like, yeah, in case she tries to talk to you about this, kind of don't feed into it. Because Linda looked at it as, because, Miffany's a very anxious person. So she looked at it as a thing of like, oh, she's just, looking for an excuse to kind of like, dealing with stuff. So she just wants to take a step back. So it's like, you don't need an excuse. Take a vacation, do whatever you need to. You don't need to kind of come up with this crazy circumstances to kind of say like you need a break from everything. She thought it was kind of like an excuse. But I think maybe that's why the Gestalt kind of take the whole situation hard, because I don't know how much Linda told them, though. That's the question. It's like, I feel like Linda probably told them a bit, but they probably didn't want to listen. I mean, the thing is, like, I think that's why they take this so hard, because also, for one, they're the people that were some of the people they thought they were the closest to her, but apparently, like, they didn't recognize when her memory was going. I brought that up before, but I'm wondering, like I said, how much did they know? Did Linda tell them everything about the attack? Or probably not. She probably just said, like, oh, she got, by some person claiming to be able to, see the future type of thing. So they all thought it was kind of like a thing. It's also interesting, and I thought it was so fascinating, like, Teddy had made a point of like, why do you like order us all different food when it's just, and then Eliza and Robert say at the same time, it's just me. So I was like, oh, that's so interesting. Because remember Monica made a point of like, why do y'all order different drinks? She's like, yeah, you don't have to do it for my benefit. It's like, oh, it makes people easier. Maybe they did that because that was a thing that Miffany did, that it kind of transferred over into the other aspects of their lives. Maybe, I'd assume. Or maybe it's just supposed to be, it's like, it's just you and me here, Miffy. You don't have to keep up the pretenses of like, no, you could just get us all the same thing. It's okay. You know, maybe they, because I guess it's supposed to represent maybe around other people. It makes it a little easier because they're kind of blended. But with Miffy, they don't have to blend in. We're us. So us, being one person is fine. You know, they don't have to worry about it. That's my thought process, man. I just thought that's kind of an interesting potential tie back to that situation, you know? We also got the whole situation with Conrad and Jennifer. We got the BMW incident that Jennifer was like, wait, that wasn't your BMW? That was Shakay owned or licensed out to you, whatever the case may be. I just thought that was kind of neat. It's actually kind of a nice heart-to-heart that they had. Like that Never Have I Ever game they were playing. But also we kind of understand more about why they kind of had the distance they did. That basically, because like Jennifer and obviously Conrad, the reference is that fact is they had a past and everything. But it turns out his abilities activated one day and he was with someone and it could have been a situation that led to them both dying because basically he ended up making someone pass out because, you know, his power to control the air and whatnot. And so it's like, oh man. And because of that, you know, the whole Glen Grove situation, you kind of have to separate yourself from people. So because of that, he ended up, you know, staying away from Jennifer. And Jennifer's like, you should have told me, I could have waited. And he's like, I wouldn't want you to wait. You know, he wanted her to live her life. And he's like, at the very least, you know, we're happy enough as is. So it kind of all worked out in the end. Obviously, you know, later on, you can tell later on that's not the case. And maybe he was lying to himself back then, or maybe things changed in that month time. But it seems like he wanted more. You know, because he wanted to be with Jennifer because there was something there. It's also interesting too because there was that whole review situation that like I was like, oh, is this why Linda did what she did? Is because like she knew that the Shakay was up for review. Basically, it was a situation of like, you know, governments allocate like, you know, money to different governmental groups and stuff like that, and the whole thing comes up to, well, the Shakay is a very secret organization, so it's like, do we really keep pumping money into this thing? So either EVAs would kind of get dispersed amongst the different organizations like MI5, MI6 and whatnot, or the Shakay in itself would be 100% disbanded. And I thought that was going to be Linda's motives for doing what she did. Once again, just, I haven't touched on it, but man, the twist is like, no, Linda's actually the good guy in this situation. She was trying to do the right thing because Bronwyn got arrested by the Gestalt, and she talked to Linda, and Linda was basically like, your sister, like, she, even if you wanted to be with her right now, you can't. She knows too many government secrets, like, it wouldn't be safe for her, or you, if you come to here again, they'll make you disappear type of situation. And so Linda, because Linda understands, it's like, hey, you want your sister, I get it, but this is just the way things are. Like, your sister does some very important work here and stuff. And it wasn't until Bronwyn called Marcus and was like, she was like, I don't think Linda's all that bad, which Marcus is like, no, she's the devil. And then Bronwyn says like, she would be up for a trade. I'm like, it was your idea? I was like, holy crap, that was it. I was like, wait, Linda isn't the bad guy in this situation. Bronwyn's the one that brought up the whole thing of like, she wanted to trade Nazim for Miffy. Because this entire time I thought like, oh, maybe she thought Miffy's powers weren't like something that could really be accessed and all that. So it's like, oh, let's use someone like Nazim. It's like, no, it was all part of some greater plan and stuff. And Bronwyn even brought this to her attention. I was like, oh my God, that's so fascinating. To the point you could tell, like, and the sad thing is, like, it hit Linda, like, when she was kind of telling that story about, like, Sir Henry, who ended up rescuing, kind of, it's actually sad to, like, that was such a small detail of, like, learning what kind of background she came from, that she was basically being taken by some KGB officers, or agents at the very least, and she was like, you know, all she had was that little crack in the back of the boat she could see through. And basically the early day of the Shakay, which is also interesting, the reason the name Shakay comes from the office building they worked out of. But at the beginning it was like there was only very few of them, and Linda remembers it as a situation of, they saved me, they brought me home, back, saved me from the darkness, despite what it might have kind of cost them. They weren't even thinking about like, oh, like, you know, anything other than saving me. And I think that, as she was telling that story, I was like, this is what influences your decision with the whole Miffy thing, isn't it? Even to the point later on when she sees Miffy, she's like, I just want to make sure you're okay. You know, it's like, take care of yourself. Because she thought that was probably going to be the last time she saw Miffy. Like, I think in that moment, it really hit her to be like, oh my God, like, that was such a beautiful moment. I was like, oh my God, Linda, you're not the bad guy. That was, like, I just love the way they structured it and kind of told that story too. At the same time, you also had the Monica situation. Monica's looking for Marcus. even to the point Marcus ended up tracking her down. Like, he probably always kept an eye on where she was exactly, and it's like, oh, she was closing in, or maybe because she was closing in, that's when he became aware. But he was there with Nazim, and Nazim's like, oh, what's happening? And it's like, yeah, that's someone I care about that I really hurt. And then I was like, is he going to wipe her memories or something like that? Is that what's about him? But it's like, no. And he was like, you know, if you're sorry about it, won't you go tell her? And he's like, I will, just not right now. I'm like, oh, he never got the chance to say he's sorry to her. And he was like, who knows where they would be right now if he had that opportunity. But he, you know, that's the thing, you know, tomorrow is never guaranteed, you know, so say what you need to say, you know. I just thought that was so sad too. It's just like, oh, we already know, is like, you never got the chance to say sorry. It's actually interesting too to understand like where Mythony got inspired by the thought of like, oh, I like options. The reason why she gave herself the options that she did was because of the Gestalt, because ordering them the food the way they were like, oh, why do you do this? And she was like, I like options. And that's when she presented herself the different options, the blue key and the red key. Also, her time with the Gestalt, that was kind of like, ooh, like hot and steamy, but it was also beautiful. It's like first they start off kissing, and then like her powers are activating, so like the lights are kind of messing up around, but then she kind of runs away, runs into Robert in one room. Also, because I even love it kind of being like, oh yeah, because that little thing of like, oh yeah, like Teddy was there, and he's like, don't you mean Alex? And she's like, no, like I could easily tell you guys apart. I was like, oh, that just shows you, just that little conversation showing you like how well she knows him, and even the fact is it made them happy that like, oh, you could tell us apart, you know? But the fact is she starts making out with Robert. Like I said, things get hot and steamy. I even love that shot of it. It's just like, it's Robert there, but like in the three mirrors in the background, it's like Alex, Teddy, and Eliza. And I just thought that was neat. And even during the intimate moments, I'm just like, oh yeah, like they're switching back and forth of like who's with. And so it's like you're with four different people at once, and I'm sure that just heightens everything. Yes, it's one person, but it's and I guess that's supposed to be what it represents. Even though you're with this one person, you're technically with the other three as well. But I just thought, I don't know, that was just like the way that was done was kind of nice. And once again, hot and steamy. But nevertheless, it's sweet because it shows you their connection, you know? And it's sad too, like, because it should have been clear from the very beginning, because obviously, like, you know, it's so interesting, because obviously the note where she's like, oh my God, the people I trust are the people I should be wary of. But then at the same time, like, that note, along with all the other prep she did, the videos, the recording, the notes, the two different safety deposits, the keys, that whole thing was all done so separately. Like, the note about, oh, who's going to betray you, being someone close to you, it was so last minute. Because she discovered it, because she saw the chicane under the banner of like, oh, like it was messed up and it said under siege. So that's what that was all about. And it's like, oh, okay. Because it makes sense, because I was like, because when you look at the way she talked about like, oh yeah, in the recording, it's like, oh, Linda, you should trust her. But then it was such a last minute note, because that was the thing at the end of the episode where she's like, oh, like now reading this note, I know I shouldn't trust anyone. But even though she made a point to be like, oh, I can trust Linda, she's my mentor and all that. So that's why, because those were recorded, those were two different instances of like a different mindset, you know? Then she was kind of like, oh my God, like they're responsible for this, which technically it was right, but obviously, like I said, the motives behind it they had the best of intentions. So obviously learning this, you know, she did try to go with the whole Legat situation. She even met with Lorik about getting her out of town and stuff. But then you see that like the dude that Conrad had interrogated earlier in the season, that dude and Peter were there, which we know Peter at the time, because he was talking with Marcus about like doing stuff off the books. It's like, we should get Lorik's permission, but it's like, whatever, I know what's up. I'll kind of do my own thing, and Lorik will be fine with it. Which in turn kind of turns out that literally everything is kind of Peter's fault, because he because he did stuff, because Lorik wasn't going to betray, he was going to keep up his end of the bargain with Mythony, but because Peter was like, I'm going to take advantage of this situation and do what I want to do. I mean, not unless that was always like the plan, not unless Lorik was going to end up betraying her and not. We know the Legat couldn't be trusted, but maybe, I don't know, because they made a point of that, but who knows if that was just Peter, because Peter did kind of go rogue, or was that something Lorik always planned, or, you know, was that the plan to begin with, like, or did, you know, Peter just assume it's like, this is what Lorik's going to do, so I'm going to do it, you know, that whole situation. It's fascinating to kind of break down, you know, and think of. But then, like, the reveal, you know, it's like as she was about to run, set up the deal and everything, Marcus is explaining, it's like, yo, this is what's up. I'm not here. You can't trust the little god. Yo, this is it's like your sister's over here. And it's like, oh my God, wait, what's going on? And Bronwyn's like, the fact of the matter is, Linda was okay with this deal. All Nazim has to do is wipe your memories. That was the point. Wipe your memories of just the Chikay. And early on, I was like, okay, so you only want to wipe the Chikay. So why did all her memories get wiped away? It was just supposed to be her experience because it worked. Because it's like, hey, this way you get to keep the Chikay secrets, while also at the same time, like, she was like, I don't have to worry about deprogramming you the way they programmed you. Like, obviously the Chikay wants you separated from your family and everything. That's the whole Glengrove thing. You know, we kind of run through this before, but it was interesting, you know, her on the phone with Linda and like the tearful goodbye between them. Oh my God. And Linda's breaking down. She's like, if I could have it any other way, I would. Because even Bronwyn's like, you're a good person on the inside. Despite all this, like, you're a good person. You know Miffany doesn't belong here. And she wanted to give Miffany a chance. It's like, yeah, this isn't your world. I don't want you to be a part of this world anymore. Kind of be able to go live your life. Because at the end of the day, despite everything, Linda does care about Miffany. And I think maybe that's the reason why she did what she did. Maybe she was going to get Nazim, keep him. That way Bronwyn can grab Miffany and just disappear. Maybe that was kind of the whole plan to begin with. And, you know, maybe even take advantage of Nazim and make it so that maybe everyone ends up forgetting about Miffany. That might have been the plan. I don't know. That would have been interesting because that way Miffany could completely disappear without anyone asking any questions. That might have also been part of the plan. Kind of furthering, showing you how good. Man, like I said, I just assumed the worst in Linda. I was like, oh my God, she's manipulative. She did it. This is someone you care about. It's like she did this out of love. And it's like, oh, it's so sweet. I think that's a nice twist to make it. It was never anything malicious. It was to trying to do the right thing despite, you know, the cost or whatever, you know? Like I said, that tearful goodbye, but Nazim trying to wipe her memories. I was like, okay, so what went wrong? Because of Miffany's powers, her powers are tied to her emotions, and obviously she's highly stressed in this moment. She's losing these memories she doesn't want to lose, and what's slowly slipping away is everything related to Chikay, the good, you know, Ingrid, Conrad, Linda, but obviously the most important things, I think, and we saw a lot of that in her memories, was the Gestalt, you know? Because she had even said, like, do you ever wonder what our lives would be like if we had never, you know, been a part of the Chikay, you know? And like I said, that deep connection between them, and then Peter showing up the way he did, him and the rest of the Lugat showing up like they did. I think it's because Miffany's powers activated while Nazim was doing his thing, and he couldn't be the precise scalpel at that moment. And in that moment, her powers kind of activating. It was like a full-blown hacksaw through her memories, hence why everything connected to her life was cut. And especially because as she was running away, like, it all started fading away. Because maybe you can think of it as he has to stitch things back up. Like, so when he makes this incision, he has to stitch her mind back up. But because he wasn't there to stitch it back up, maybe it wasn't like a hacksaw. Maybe he did a scalpel movement, but her memory, you can think of it as blood, started bleeding through because he wasn't there to patch the wound back up. Maybe that's a way to look at it. Either way, it was all, you can all tail it back to Lugat. Like, maybe things wouldn't have been as bad even with her powers activating, but it's also because of what her power is. It activated in that moment. She was stressed out. We also understand what was happening in that moment of, like, she was stressing out even more because her mind was in free fall. All her memories were kind of being yanked away, not just as she came, but everything. And that moment, like, she was stressing out. She couldn't handle it, and that's when her power activated, and she killed everyone. Linda was very close to the scene at the time when everything went down on the bridge, so... Oh my God, dude. It kind of, like I said, this was a great episode because of that. Just like to get the full picture and understanding. I can't wait to the next episode because I want to see, like, you know, Miffany be like, wait, what? That's what this is all about? You were never the best. Like, I'm so interested to see where the story kind of takes us next. Like I said, the whole thing is sad too because it's like, yeah, like Monica said, like, he was like Marcus was never a bad guy. He was trying to do the right thing. He was trying to help out Bronwyn get her brother back. I mean, her sister back, you know? So it's like, you know, and even he was going to apologize to Monica, I think, when all said and done, but it's like he never got that chance. It's like, you know, he's trying to do the right thing, you know. It's just, like I said, it's just sad circumstances on top of sad circumstances. So that explains more about why Peter knows as much as he does. And once again, it just seems like legitimately at the end of the day, it seems like Peter's the only asshole in this situation. Everyone else is kind of like being a decent human being except for him, you know. So I think that's kind of interesting to kind of walk away from this whole situation. Next week's episode is going to be the season finale. I am so interested to see how this all ends up wrapping up. I'm curious, are they going to name the next episode the epilogue or something just because this was the prologue? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I'm very interested to see like what the hell goes down, like how this whole thing ends up playing out. But really, that's all I'm going to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.